I'm Jeff Hunty's Bill Thorpe. Are mosques coming to the Springs?
Get ready to pray! Sorry, just being ridiculous.
Bill Thorpe going to go to the top and do the Muslim call to prayer down in Colorado Springs.
But I'd make it like a WWE Open. Are you ready to? Yeah, no, we can do that.
This has got to be my favorite text message of the day outside of people telling me I'm not a Christian. Jason in Denver reminding us that it was tire tracks and positive traction differential that allowed my cousin Vinny to get his cousin off a murder charge.
I love it. It's the positronic traction. That is a great reference. That is a fantastic one. One of Marissa Tomei's absolutely best roles ever. It's fantastic. And that the questioning at the end where it's back is so good. So well written.
Well, and she tries to leave the courtroom. This was like my dad's favorite movie.
Oh, yeah.
So I have watched My Cousin Vinny forever. The two Utes.
Oh, yeah,
the two Utes.
Yeah, two Utes.
And she, are you sure?
Yes.
So I think she won an Oscar for that, right?
Or at least a nomination. Yeah, I don't know. But it was fantastic.
Marissa Tomei, right?
So good.
All right, Jason in Denver, well done. That is the funniest text of the morning so far. All right, here's the headline out of the Gazette. Southern Colorado's first dedicated mosque moving through permitting and preparation for construction. Is this Colorado at its finest? America at its finest? Religious freedom. Yes, come here. Unlike other countries, you can build your mosque, build your church. We allow you to do that. Or is this the beginning of the Muslim takeover of Colorado as mosques are now going up in Colorado Springs? Colorado Springs, this was like the mecca of evangelicalism in the 90s. Now has its first mosque. It doesn't even have a Republican elected mayor anymore. Is this all symptomatic of changes happening? And is this spell doom for the future of Colorado? Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Now is time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Morning. It is Friday, thankfully. 26 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 34 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
This is a very important pipeline that impacts several communities.
Lauren Boebert on with Jeff and Billy last hour, fighting to fund the Colorado Water Pipeline that affects 50,000 people in southeastern Colorado. In the veto rejection letter, DJT said he didn't like the cost, so they just needed to override the veto. But Republicans, they turned to okey doke, and there weren't enough votes. But she is not giving up.
And I'm going to continue to work to get this across the line. I said yesterday in an interview that President Trump has always said promises made, promises kept. And I completely agree with that mentality. And I am going to ensure President Trump keeps his promise to continue this Arkansas Valley water infrastructure.
Impact it. Out of the Gazette. Out of the Gazette. Southern Colorado's first dedicated mosque. Moving through permitting in preparation for construction. Continued growth in the Muslim community in El Paso County, and ongoing financial contributions from support, taxing the ability of the Islamic North Chestnut Street to accommodate new followers. A video about the expansion project says. No one from the mosque has done an interview with the Gazette, but the Gazette has been able to point out that the existing mosque is a 1960s era brick building that previously operated on social media and YouTube right now. The Denver Gazette, Southern Colorado's first dedicated mosque, moving through permitting in preparation for the construction. It has grown from, Muslim adherents in Colorado Springs has grown from 488 to now over 1,000 in 5 years. In Colorado, having its first dedicated mosque.
I find it interesting as you have the idea of in some ways, a wholesale change of what Colorado Springs was 20 years ago into what it is now, because it was the cradle of focus on the family and viewed as one of the most conservative cities at the time.
You're tired, give me your weary, give me your huddled masses yearning for freedom. Until it reaches 10 million and Joe Biden and the Democrats lose their job. So it's a nice idea while it's small, but once it gets to large numbers, well, then people get concerned, rightfully, in my mind. Look, I love the idea of America and its religious freedom because I've studied it, and particularly its history. At one point, you had to get licensed by the government of Virginia to preach the gospel. This is why the Baptists fought and why they wrote their letter to Thomas Jefferson, because they were tired of having, I think it was the Anglicans that were in charge of Virginia, essentially shutting down their ability to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. So yes, I don't want the government involved, but I think there's a lot of assumptions in our belief with regards to religious freedom and this idea that you can come here and worship who you want. Because in Muslim-dominated communities across the world, religious freedom disappears. In fact, what they told me was, we're not going to have any of that. What does we're not going to have any of that mean? I think it means your heart's not going to be beating if you're a member of the LGBT community in an Islamic-dominated community. So is this a camel's nose under the tent? The first mosque in Colorado Springs. Is this the beginning point of a much bigger problem that Colorado's facing? Is this symptomatic of Christians, evangelicals moving out of the state of Colorado, and it's going to look like, I don't know, New York City, where you have lots of socialist communists and Muslims and socialist communists overlapping and getting elected mayor. Join the conversation. Would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Does the first dedicated mosque in Colorado Springs make you feel proud as a Coloradan? Or is this a harbinger of the decline of Colorado? 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk Dan Caplis. Bill, should we do commercial reads? Are there people out there listening?
Oh, I don't know. I think we should. Yes, I'd skip the commercial reads right now.
All right. Do you want to just take us into
Yeah, let's just do the commercial.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to hit the commercial break because things are weird this morning. So let's just do this. Yeah.
Iran has heard our conversation.
It has. All right. We'll be right back. This is KNUS.
Is it the decline of Colorado Springs, once the center of the evangelical universe, now no longer has a Republican mayor, and the Muslim population has doubled? So much so that they're opening their first mosque in Colorado Springs. Is this a good change for Colorado? Is this the melting pot at work? Religious freedom? Put up whatever church, mosque, synagogue you want. Welcome to America. Or is this symptomatic of the decline of Colorado? Evangelicals, conservatives leaving, getting their U-Hauls and heading out of the state, and now it's just dominated by socialists and what appears to be a growing Muslim population. Seems like this is what happens in Democrat communities. New York, Minnesota. Is this all part of the decline? Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line 720-819-5115. Let's go to the phone lines. Larry in Denver. Good morning, Larry. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning, Larry. What's on your mind?
Well, good morning, guys. Yeah, I just want to do quickly and then hit on the last one about the mosque thing. But I was just thinking earlier, I've just been kind of overwhelmed myself, and I had to get myself centered, spiritually, because the world is just being upside down and going. But I just wanted to comment real quick. I don't know, with the Minnesota situation, and I don't know, I'm not going to presume, guilt or innocent, anything. But what troubles me is the process. What troubles me is that if you have the DHS people and you have the president coming around and presuming, innocent right away. And so when I hear all these people saying that this woman, she shouldn't have been there and then she's at fault. But what really comes back for me is I just think about January the 6th. I think about Ashley Babbitt. And then when Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed, again, the president of the United States and, some very conservative, say she was innocent. So I hear this morning they say the woman shouldn't have been there. She's been okay. And then I'm looking at Ashley Babbitt. Wait a minute now. That's not the first time that she heard of that. She had to be listening and be online, but she was killed. But she was offered, she was given $5 million, and then she was offered military service. So that's the conflict when you're talking about being in the eyes of the beholder, who's good and who's innocent. And that's really a problem. That is it for me forever and a day. When you keep contrasting these things, who's guilty or innocent, who's a drug, lord, and who's not a drug lord. One goes away, and we're going to convict this one. So I just want your guys' input on that.
Yeah, because I appreciate, Larry, the sensitivity you have to the idea that these cases are politicized. Because you go back to like the shooting of Michael Brown, you go back to too early. Yeah, I guess so. But I also think that they're trying to combat what the left is doing to try to politicize this as fuel for more violence and anti-ICE activities.
Well, one thing I look for is the president to be able to come out and say we all need to cool our heels. And this is, that's where leadership is. But when it comes out, I don't think that he's controlling. I know, for a fact that he wants to control the narrative. And then the question is what's helpful, for the nation. And then, for the nation. And then, and opposed to what, and then he's defending something. Because when we're talking about democracy, that's what really, and I capitalize that, there's really a big war going on. And then who's going to cool our heels, with the piece with that. And then the other piece, real quick, is when we're talking about the mosque. And this thing hit me, and I know a lot of people are not going to appreciate, but, we're in the realm of speak your piece. I look at this with, and I know that there's a lot of fears, and I hear and I read it, and I've been reading it for years and years and years and listening to it. But the fear being put out there, and what Trump is saying, the hellhole nations and these Somalians or whatever, And then what I've read and heard is that the fear of browning of America, and that's really there, and that's a real thing. And then the question I have is, wait a minute, if we were saying that and the leaders, and then I look at J.D. Vance, when we talk about the Mars thing, J.D. Vance, Steve Miller, and Mitch McConnell, and all of these people, and then J.D. Vance goes overseas and talk about immigrants, but they all are contributing to the browning of America. But at the same time telling you these people are bad. And so with J.D. Vance, what is he going to do with it? Because I forgot what's the nationality of it, but they got a different...
Yeah, he's married to a Hindu Indian wife.
Yeah, so what are we doing?
So a lot different. They'll just assimilate. They'll just embrace Western American values. Everything will be fine, no problems. Bring in 10 million illegal immigrants from Latin America. Everything will just run fine. And you see the stretch on social services. You see the crime. And then you see a lack of assimilation, particularly around Muslims, that should be concerning. I like what America is as a free Judeo-Christian Western civilization. And I think it's contributed to the freest, most successful civilization in world history that has brought more people out of poverty than any before. Does your skin color matter in this? No. And I think in part that
none of this was going to be, you felt like none of this was going to be, you felt like you could control this. So the people from way back contribute to where everything else is today, because you can control it, but you couldn't control it. So you don't like all of these spiritualities and religions or whatever, but you brought the people over here. Now you fear it. That's confusing.
All right, Larry, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Larry in Denver's phone line is open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Debates hot on the text message line about this. Westy Carlos saying, look, Christian state is just as terrible as a Muslim state. I disagree in that analysis for a few reasons. One, I don't think there's three different forms of Christianity informing the state. Maybe four, actually.
Okay. One
is what we have in America, which is a Christian-influenced nation, right? We're predominantly Christians, somewhere around 90% Protestants when this nation was founded. Catholics made up a rest of the population, and then and that was mostly, I think, in Pennsylvania. Or no, that was Maryland. Maryland was predominantly the Catholic state. And then small pockets of Jews, but not really any Muslim population.